let's get into the entree. So round 5, we had the byes were the Waratahs and the Hurricanes. The Waratahs, they needed a bye, let's be honest. Hopefully they can regather. And so, yes, the first fixture of the weekend on Friday night, we had the Force and the Rebels both making their home ground in Western Sydney. The Force are now called the Western Sydney Force. It was the Force going down in super time, 20-25 to the Rebels. Who wants to kick us off through with this one?
Look, I'm happy to if no one's going to jump on. The Force won this lost this 20-25. There was the long-awaited return of Isi Nassarani after his hamstring injury. Brad Wilkins, I think, returned to the bench, did he, from an ACL?
Yep.
And new injuries, we had Ian Pryor, who was pulled pre-game, Tevin Ferris, who was stretched off with a neck injury 5 minutes into the game, and Lawrence, who I think he had a bicep injury at about that 25-minute mark. The Rebels
actually, and also not on there was Henry Taifu, who
concussion.
He came on and he got knocked the hell out by Frank Lamani. They didn't replay it or anything. It was kind of like just an aside, but he just hit the ground super hard. Getting rocked by a scrum half is a tough one.
Yeah, I forgot that one because of my own concussion. But yeah, look, the Rebels were pretty ill-disciplined early on in this one, leading to a yellow card to Isi Nassarani for not rolling away after team repeated infringements. They conceded 11 in the first half, and I think 7 more throughout the match. So it was a very stop-start game, that's for sure. There was lots of errors in this one as well. The Force were unable to capitalise on that possession and a few opportunities early on when they presented themselves, which I think for me, maybe that's been the thing that they've been lacking, just that killer blow at certain times that they need to win and close out the game or to get those points early when they're on offer. The Rebels managed to bag a try actually during the yellow card of a great line-out play. As a guy that Harry and I have known for quite some time and liked, Cameron Orr, the prop, looped back around that 5-metre channel to give the ball to Ulysses, who went over in the corner. It was just great hands, great play.
No one expects the quick hands from the prop.
No, exactly right. And Jono Lance, Harry actually said, what do you reckon? Do you reckon he might blow this? When Jono Lance had a kick to basically win the game.
Not hard either. It
was a relatively easy kick. I think he'd been kicking all right throughout the night, and he just absolutely shanked the kick. Actually, it was in the extra time, was it?
No, it was just before extra time. It was a couple of minutes to go, yeah. and they would have won the game from it.
Yeah, for sure. It was just before extra time. But this was a better extra time or better super time, as they call it. With the Rebels, after doing the kickoff, there was a little mistake by the Force, and the Rebels capitalised and threw just phase after phase until Nassarani dove over for the win. There were question marks on his fitness, I think, returning, but I mean, he scored after 70-odd minutes because he had his yellow card, so his fitness doesn't look too bad. Match stats.
I think it wasn't about his fitness. They were saying over the COVID break he was incredibly unfit. He didn't come back in the shape he needed to be.
I'd call it unfit kind of fitness. But let's move on. Penalties, there were 28 penalties, 1 yellow card by each side. The Rebels had only 274 compared to the Force, 326 run meters, but they had 15 tackle busts compared to the Force 9. The Force had double the clean line breaks, 8-4. Similar on offloads. There was a few other things there. The scrums, the Rebels had 100% scrum success, where the Force lost 1 of their 12. With lineouts, both teams lost 2. Fantasy man of the match was Fergus Lee Warner with 62 points. He just gets through a ton of work, 16 carries for 40 metres, a try, a tackle busts, and 17 from 17 tackles, 1 turnover, 1. It hurts that he was against me this week because he was one of my players and he was someone that put the nail in the coffin for me. Jordan Ulysses got 55 points. He bagged a try himself and did a lot around the paddock.
Very good. Yeah, no, Fergus Lee Warner was incredible. He got through some work.
Surely,
my one thing about him is he's just too small to be a lock. Transition him into a 6. He'd be great for the Wallabies.
Now, this game, I was just thinking, this game was one of those games where I'd like to be told to watch it in a KO Mini if I wasn't watching it live, because some of the skills in this were bloody woeful. You know what I mean? It's a perfect KO Mini type game, just the brief cut. But anyway. All right, moving on.
Having said that, though, like there was still some real good highlights, and the goal kicking was exceptional as well, with the exception of Lance, bungling the last one. But yeah, there was still some good stuff there. It was just that 18 penalties in the first half, which was just made it impossible to get any flow in the game.
Yeah, it was a tight game with a great finish. Like, I think it was an entertaining game. Yes, there was too many penalties and probably too many drop balls, but I still think it was a really entertaining game.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, talking about we're going on to the other Aussie game, talking about a game that was bloody entertaining. Now, this was a game that excited me. And before even watching the game, I was pretty busy this weekend, so I didn't manage to watch much of the footy until Sunday night. I decided I wanted to watch this game over a Kiwi game for the first time. So, and I was rewarded for that enthusiasm. But wow, this game came down to the wire. Brumbies and the Reds. The Brumbies taking it out 22-20, kicking a penalty goal on full time. What a game! What did you guys think?
Yeah, well, this was an awesome game to watch.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal, mate. You're so excited about watching this one, so I'll let you go through it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, returning for this one, Jordan Petaia off the bench. Somehow he sailed through to the end of our first round fantasy pickups, and Harry got him. And he of course came on with only 20 minutes into the game, just to really get stuck into my team. Angus Blythe returned from a shoulder injury. And injuries in this one, Chris Foya-Sortea did a calf pretty early on. And Jock Campbell, we'll just move on. Jock Campbell did a bicep. His biceps were just too big. And I still don't know how you injure a bicep, to be honest with you.
But, do you watch rugby?
What do you mean?
Jock Campbell doesn't have a bicep, but I'm pretty sure you made up the player before him. Look, they are going for scans on Jock Campbell's bicep today, but there's no clarity yet on how bad it is. But generally, you would think that means he's got a possible biceps rupture or something. Like you don't get many other injuries there, so that's a bit of a worry for him and for his manager owners as well.
Very good. Anyway, guys, jump in whenever with this game. But there was pretty much the Brumbies all ball in the first half. They scored they scored 3 tries in the game off their rolling maul. Falau Faringa bagged the first 2. Didn't stay on for the third, but. I mean, their rolling maul is just unstoppable. I think the commentators kept talking about how it's so disheartening that it's coming. You prepare for it all week, but you can't do anything about it. Like, it's just that good.
Yeah, I read a few people on Twitter having a bit of a whinge about it, that there's too many driving more tries. And I literally wrote back and said, maybe league's a more simple sport that you can follow. Because that's putting a lot of puzzle pieces together. And the fact that they're just so good at it, there is nothing negative about that. Like, teams can do whatever they want, and they're struggling to stop it because it's so strong. And that's one of the best parts of uni, the different styles of teams playing different styles of games.
And I think Laurie Fisher came out and said it's something like 5 of their 19 tries in Super Rugby AU. Like, it's actually only a small percentage. It was just a big part of this game. And to be fair, without their driving maul, I think they would have lost this game by 12 points or something. They didn't look like they had anything else.
I was about to say, this is a big game. This was the game of the conference. And, you got to pull out all the weapons you've got. And if that's the one that's going to work, that's what you pull the trigger on. So, and that's what they did. But as you hit it on the head, the Reds looked a far more enterprising team of the two with the ball.
Their discipline just hurt them so much. And, I mean, worst possible team to do that against.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom Banks's kicks, putting them right down in the corner for those driving mauls were crazy. But now the Reds looked great in the second half. When they did get the discipline in check, they didn't give away a penalty till about the 75th minute, I think it was. They scored 2 or something unanswered tries and really got themselves back into the game. They just looked incredible. I think the thing that stood out for me for this one was just like the intensity, the hits throughout from the first minute to the end. The defense was there. It was kind of like they were playing a test match. There was just so much. The desire was huge. But speaking of huge performances in this one, Harry Wilson, fantasy man of the round, man of the match, and man of the round.
Mate, beast.
He was incredible, just into everything. He runs these awesome support lines. He scored one try. We had another one that was disallowed. It was pretty much the same thing.
And a try assist, I think.
And a try assist as well. I mean, unbelievable. Jordan Bataille, he looked really good. He came on at wing, so Paisami was still playing in 13. But Bataille just picked up right where he left off. Didn't ease into this with the 20 minutes or anything. He played the full game, and he looked like he loved being out there. So he's just going to make the Reds an even better team. And I guess, what it came down to at the end was the Brumbies did give away some crucial penalties at the end. Fraser McWright, who Nelson really likes, came on. He got a turnover penalty to look like win the Reds the game with a minute and a half to go. Somehow the ball came back down into their half, and then he gave away a penalty to taking the halfback out or something.
You've got to feel for the bloke. He had his hands on the ball and kind of had a little bit of pressure from a defender that was at that time behind him. So kind of pushed him forward a little bit, and he took out the halfback. So just didn't have a good enough, I suppose, stance to fight for that ball. Awful
game management for the Reds. They should have put that game away. Like how in the last 2 minutes they didn't just hold the ball.
Absolutely, it was definitely theirs for the taking. I don't know. We talk about this every week with Aussie teams. I don't know how they do it, but anyway, in quickly smashing the stats are pretty even. The penalty count, it did come out at 7 to the Brumbies, 12 to the Reds, so it did even out towards the end of the game. The Reds got most of those in the first half, but otherwise, look, the stats were all pretty even. Fantasy man of the match, as we said, Harry Wilson. 16 carries for 88 metres, a try assist, couple of line breaks, 20 of 21 tackles. Huge. He will definitely feature in our work rate index. Work rate index or work rate something else? I forget what it was.
Yep.
Index? Good. Falafel Inga, 57 points. Dane Zander, the prop, getting a start from Harry Hubert's injury, 55 points. He made 22 tackles. That's 44 points. Huge. Jock Campbell, 53, and R.A. Simone, 50. Huge.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Huge.
All right. Let's get into the Kiwi conference. Chiefs Crusaders, also not a bad game. Harry, do you want to take us through this one?
Yeah, this one was really good for both teams for about 60 minutes, and then the Crusaders just did what the Crusaders do. But going back to before that, returning, you had Natua Akoi coming back from his concussion. He missed a few weeks, came off the bench this week for Vai, I think it was. And Angus Tarvau came back from his quad tendon injury, a repair. So that was a long time out for him. The coach had said, with most players, they would expect that it would take him a long time to get his fitness back, but they were really, really happy with his experience, his calm head and his composure and his fitness to get back in and start in the team a few weeks earlier than they expected. So awesome seeing him back as a very good prop for them. A couple of new injuries. So speaking of props, Ruben O'Neill went off with an ankle injury, so that revolving door at loose head just keeps on going. And then you had Michael Alatoa for the Crusaders, went off with a knee injury, apparently not quite as bad as they originally expected. He might be back next week. And Lachlan Boucher, he didn't get subbed for his injury, but he was holding his ankle about 3 or 4 times with heavy strapping, and they had to stop the game for him a few times as well. And eventually he came off at 60 minutes, and he just doesn't go off the field. So I figure that was probably worth a mention, but, no doubt he'll just play on next week.
Just kept adding an extra layer of tape each time.
That's right. So look, the Crusaders got off to a 2-try lead, and they just looked vastly the superior side. But then somehow the Chiefs just chipped away and came back into it, and they got right back to almost equal. Shout out to Tom Sanders, who I've thought nothing of all Super Rugby Aotearoa. But seeing him run down the sideline at pace, he's a scary, scary man. And that hit from D-Mac, I was pretty proud of my namesake for even putting his body in line. That's how you get injured and never play again. Like, the guy was going so quick, and D-Mac did very well to put a shoulder in and almost raked the ball as well.
That's stuff of nightmares for D-Mac, I think.
Mate, how about Tom Sanders' wheels, though? Far out. I'd never seen him move so quick.
Scary.
Yeah.
Very scary. Cargie, mate, this is when I thought I was done this week. Your trio of Richie Moe, Cody Taylor, and Will Jordan, all ridiculous. Like Cody Taylor, all of a sudden, I know he can't throw a line out this year, but his running game is outrageous. Will Jordan and Richie Moe do it every single week. We picked Richie Moe, because we're so insightful to have a huge game this week, and lo and behold, he did.
Fantasy man of the match.
On top of that, mate, the talking point for this one was when it was 20-19, Sevu Reese's try. So I think it was Quinton Strange looked like he'd knocked the ball on, and they looked at it, the TMO looked at it, and they ended up saying it was backwards and everything was okay. I just don't understand.
That was ridiculous.
Very, very clearly went backwards, and the way that the knock-on is refereed, they call everything a knock-on when it's clearly not. How the hell this one gets called backwards, no idea.
And they replayed it about five or six times. They stopped the game for a good 4 or 5 minutes, and all three refs somehow still came to that decision. It was crazy.
I think they knew that he was against me in fantasy.
Yeah, that was... Well, Nelson, you still would have been 7th, so I don't think it's that big a deal.
No.
Lachlan Boucher and Peter Gus Sokula were the best for the Chiefs. Sokula is just looking outrageously good as well. He's kind of showing the form that we had all hoped that he could. Some consistent game time has been very, very good for him. But in the end, 60 minutes, the Crusaders just shut the gate, and they've done it again. And we said that they'd come back with a vengeance, and I think they did that.
I think it's just worth noting on the refereeing. I think Warren Gatland lost any hair he had left because it wasn't just that one decision. Ben O'Keefe had an absolute shocker. There's quite a few things I think that went against the Chiefs that just killed the momentum.
Tackle bust 27-17. The Crusaders leading. Line breaks 14-8. That's about all the interesting ones there. You also had always the fantasy man of the match, Richie Moe, 68 points with 12 carries for 64 metres, 7 tackle busts, a line break, 2 offloads, 1 try assist, 9 from 9 tackles, but only 3 from 7 for the boot. So I think that's all he's misses for the last 3 years in a row there. Also, Cody Taylor and Will Jordan, 60 points each. Boucher, 52 points, bagged another try. And Colonel Sanders, 51 points as well. A huge game from him.
How good. All right. Sorry, I was going to say it. Nels, take us through it.
Yeah, I was going to say the final game was the Highlanders versus the Blues. The Highlanders went down in this one 21-32. Apparently there was no one returning from injuries, and there was no injuries, which is something good to see and not something we've seen a lot of, if it is true, especially in Super Rugby Aotearoa with some pretty hard-fought matches. But look, the Blues looked in complete control. Their forward pack was just so physical. Roden Barrett, he's just looking so good at 10. Keep the man at 10. He's just controlling them around the park, throwing beautiful wide passes, just running the ball up, short kicking game, like everything. He's just got everything you want from a 10, and he's definitely being able to use it a lot more at that jersey rather than slotting in from the back. It was the Blues' first win ever under the roof. Bodie Barrett, his kicking was literally the only problem he had. He kicked 2 from 5 on the night. I don't know how you can be the best player in the world. You can be the All Blacks 10 if that is your kicking percentage, to be completely honest. The rest of them, absolutely brilliant. Controversial moment. Papali'i got a 17-metre intercept try, which just broke the hearts of everyone from here that would be his manager, because Aaron Smith just 100% milked it and faked it that he was tripped, and it was very much a soccer-esque dive, and the play was brought back to him diving, apparently touching Carl Tuanukuafi's foot or something along those lines.
Yeah, he did hit his foot, like the camera shows. I watched it again last night. He hit his foot clearly, but I agree. He did look like he kind of played it up a fair bit.
He completely Hollywooded that. And
he was diving before he touched his foot.
The ref, even during the play, went, nah, you deliberately tripped over him. He said it, and then he let the play go. And then they said he basically was forced to come back and look at it from the TMO and whatever else.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe he overturned it. I was like, what? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think there was something about a bunch of the players coming up and having a whinge to the ref as well. And they're saying, like, it's not a good look to have a bunch of players going up to the ref saying, go back and look at that.
That happens after every try, mate. It was a third umpire who just would not leave him alone.
I know. Just, mate, the game's not about you. Okay? Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Finlay Christie had an absolute blinder. He scored 2 tries. He had a brilliant set up by Caleb Clark, throwing that little offload to him straight through. But he's looking better and better every time he wears this Blues jersey. He's eligible for Scotland as well as New Zealand. Oh, look, I mean, there's a few good halfbacks that we all know in New Zealand. So Scotland are definitely going to be praying for him to come over to them because he is an absolute weapon. The Highlanders backline, there's names in there that you would expect to really be able to, add some oomph. Seo Tompkinson, one for me, and they just don't seem to have enough firepower at the moment. The second playmaker, shifting Hunt to fullback, I don't think really worked that well. And then you had Collins playing outside centre. Yes, it was his preferred position apparently. But yeah, look, the wingers weren't firing. There just was not a lot coming out of this backline for me.
I think outside centre was his preferred position. Is like you telling us that your preferred position is fly half. It's great that that's where you want to play, mate, but you're just not any good there.
That's it. I think he plays there.
Game there.
I think he plays there in provincial footy. But no, one I guess who either was injured or just not picked because he'd been playing terribly was Bobby Thompson. He was one of my team members who left me high and dry. But
he's average this year.
We haven't seen anything about him being injured, have we, Harry?
No, but Jono Nareki as well. Like, what the hell are they doing him?
Yeah, I don't know. There's some craziness going on. But, yeah, look, Jono Nareki on the bench is crazy. But Bob Thompson has been really junk this year. So they're probably out trying to see what they can add to it.
The only point I'll make before you get to the stats in this game was Shannon Frizzell's try going straight through Akira Ioane. It was unbelievable. Brilliant. It wasn't like he caught him off guard or anything. And Akira is one of the strongest blokes ever. But
yeah, brilliant stuff. The Highlanders had a slightly more of both with 56% possession, 57% territory. The Highlanders had 8 penalties to the Blues, 14 plus the yellow card. Similar in terms of run meters, but the Highlanders ran in 19-6 tackle busts. But flip it to the other side, the Blues had 17-6 line breaks.
Wow.
Riddle me that.
Yeah.
Offloads, the Blues had 15-9. When we roll over to the set piece, 2 from 4 for the Highlanders in their scrums, whereas the Blues had 9 from 9. The line-outs, there was 5 from 7 from the Blues with 71%, 14 from 15 from the Highlanders. So just a mixed bag there from the set piece. Finlay Christie was the man of the match, no surprise, with 65 points. 2 tries, a try assist, 3 line breaks, 2 offloads, and 45 passes. So that's 9 points. Blues, Akira got 57, Ofa Tuamafasi got 54, and Caleb Clark got 53. For the Highlanders, no huge points, but the top was Josh Ioane in his starting return with 43.
You missed one of Finlay Christie's key stats, Nelson. 1 heart broken. Didn't he crush you this weekend?
He really did.
Got him, yes. Yeah, and I think we spoke last week about one of the key things this week was Carl Tuankoafe coming in how good he's been in the scrums. But that Blues scrum absolutely monstered the Highlanders. I think at the end they had the yellow card. They were packing with a man down, and I think they still won a scrum against the feed against the Highlanders. It was huge.
Yeah, craziness.